Hi everyone, welcome to the National Support Session for Assignment 2. Let me just check my settings. Yes, we're good. All right, so the assignment is out of 100 marks and it should take you approximately 10 hours to complete. And obviously when you start, you need to start by reading the instructions, and they're saying that no material may be copied from original sources, even if it's referenced correctly. Your assignment must be submitted through SafeAssign and Save a Copy. And I think all of these instructions we know very well because there's nothing different from the previous assignment. Also, the Academic Honesty Declaration, which is what you would have signed in or on VC Learn, you also have to sign here. And then the referencing rubric at honors level or postgrad level, you really should know how to reference. You should know the basics of referencing and the importance thereof. So again, just to highlight the fact that if you've got minor referencing technical issues or minor technical referencing issues, you will get 5% deducted. And for major, or in fact, let me make this yellow. And for major technical references, then you will get 10% deducted. However, you can get more than that, which means A0 for your mark if you do not reference. So in terms of the assignment instructions, the following assignment is based on various chapters in your prescribed textbook. Please ensure that you have consulted these chapters before attempting the assignment. So it's basically learning outcome or learning unit 1 to learning unit 4. And then students are required to conduct additional research should they require. In fact, it is required that you conduct additional research. And then the assignment comprises of 2 parts. Part 1 includes a document that needs to be submitted on VC Learn. And then part 2 is a presentation to a panel of judges. So in this instance, I will be the panel of judges as your lecturer. Each member of the group should submit the same part 1 of the assignment on Learn for marking purposes. And so in other words, if you are all in a group, everyone should submit the same assignment, and then refer to the marking rubric as a guideline. And please note there is a peer evaluation that needs to be completed for each member. So each student should complete the peer evaluation form at the end of this document. So for part 2, it will be presentations, and more than that, you guys need to submit the same assignment, same part for the assignment for part 1, and then for secondly, then it means that you guys as a team must review yourselves, as review the members of the team. So in terms of the assignment, they say each student, it's about the entrepreneurial tycoon, aka the business simulation game. Okay, so each student has now been exposed to an array of entrepreneurial concepts, and the content should be vivid in your mind. So in other words, you need to now know what it takes for you to start a business and all of the steps that it takes for you to get to the point where you are now running your business. That is everything that we have done from learning unit or learning unit 1 to learning unit 4. So they say that assignment 1 required that you think of a business idea that you are passionate about and answer the questions in relating to the business. Now that you've been exposed to the notion of starting a business, the aim of this assignment is to now reverse the roles. Now you are the learner, and what does that mean when the roles are reversed? So in assignment 2, you will be required to form groups. The group should not exceed 4 members. And the aim of this assignment is to develop an entrepreneurial simulation game. And I think this is So interesting. I cannot wait to see what the results are going to look like. So with your evidence, with all the content that you have learned throughout the semester, and let me see, with your experience of all the content that you have learned this semester, you're required to develop a simulation as an educational tool for individuals who may want to pursue an entrepreneurial venture. So what they're saying is that because you have learned what it takes to start a business, now you need to develop an educational tool, right? Simulation set up as an educational tool for individuals. So now you are becoming the teacher. And what are you teaching people? How to pursue an entrepreneurial venture. You will not be required to play the game, but you will be required to present the simulation to a panel of judges. So in other words, that simulation that you create, that is what you're going to present. So you will tell the judges what your simulation game is based on, etc. So it will assess the suitability of your simulation game and its ability to cover all the relevant aspects that individual may need to consider to adequately pursue his entrepreneurial venture. So think about all of the learning outcomes and the learning units that we've done, right? Which of those do you think belong in the simulation? That's what they're basically saying, and that's what you will have to insert in your simulation game. So the assignment will comprise of two parts. So we've already covered this. The first one is the actual presentation that you submit on Learn. Sorry, the submission that you submit on Learn, and then the second part will be the presentation to a panel of judges. So part one of the simulation, the assignment should be answered in an essay format and should be 2,500 to 3,000 words, this excluding the in-text reference and reference list. And then you need to indicate your word count. And then in order to compile this assignment successfully, you are required to read widely. You need to consult various national and international publications, and references should not be older than 5 years old. And then a minimum of 8 credible sources. Your discussions should be supported with theoretical and practical examples. I cannot stress this one enough, that these are the principles that we've learned in terms of answering theory questions. And then you'll be assessed according to the referencing rubric, and then you must visit EBSCOhost in order for you to get additional sources. So your submission on Learn should include the following sections and discussions based on your group's entrepreneurial simulation game. So after you have developed your game, this is what you're going to present, okay? Number one, there must be a creative cover page, right? You need to design a visually appealing cover page introducing the entrepreneurial simulation game project. So you can't just have a cover page, the typical cover page that says name, or student number. No, we want something appealing, like an infographic, picturesque kind of game cover page that's going to introduce your game. And then you need to also include a captivating title, the relevant images, most importantly, and the details of each group member. So yes, the relevant image, but then also have the other boring bits, which is like your contact, your names, etc. And then obviously we need a table of contents, which will be page 2 of your assignment. And then the body of the document should include the following sections. And here they make it very easy for you. They say that number one, and yeah, this is important. So let me make it bold and then underline it. They say the simulation objectives. So number one, you should say, what are the simulation objectives that you have? So after the table of contents, then you talk about your simulation objectives. Then you talk about your value added. You explain how the simulation adds value to potential entrepreneurs. So remember, you're designing a simulation game that teaches them how to pursue entrepreneurship. So think about that, why you would have designed it. Highlight the learning experiences and practical applications that it offers. Include the specific learning units relevant to each, and I think they meant each here, aspect of the game. So every time you include something in your simulation game, talk about what learning unit or learning unit and learning outcome that it comes from. Then you also have to include your target audience. So in other words, Who is this simulation aimed at? Entrepreneurs, but what else makes these entrepreneurs unique? Maybe they're from, a remote location, maybe they're from unprivileged backgrounds, whatever it is that you want to make your target audience. Then you need to explain how it caters to their needs. So you're saying they want to start businesses, they know nothing about starting businesses, and therefore your simulation game teaches them how to start businesses. And then mechanics of the gameplay. So detail the mechanics of gameplay, explaining how the simulation functions and the interaction that users can expect. Now, this one is so important because of the fact that I want to get a different color for it, because this is basically the main part of the whole thing. What exactly is included in the business simulation? For instance, if I were to, create a business simulation, the first thing I would do is, one of the aspects that I would cover is the generating ideas. For instance, we know that there's 5 elements that take place, or that we can source our ideas from, and I would actually make people, create those sources. So, or reach out to those sources. So yeah, this is the part where, I guess most of the detailing comes. And the entrepreneurial aspects to be considered as part of the simulation. And again, this is so important. They talk about funding, marketing, operations, location of the business. So that's basically telling you which learning units you need to go, right? And then business growth. So with business growth, for instance, we've done 2 chapters on growth, but not only planning for growth, but also managing growth. So think about, what it is that you would teach. I think this is very much learning to teach. So you learn something in order for you to teach. And therefore, they're saying that whatever you have learned in your module, you need to be able to then teach. And then lastly, the prototype. And this will go back to being green, and it include a prototype of the simulation game, right? And it's illustrating key play features and functionality. So this is basically the model of your game. What does it look like? And this prototype can later be revised for the presentation. So they're saying that, whatever it is that you create, maybe when you time for you to present, then you can make the necessary changes. Then there's part 2 of the assignment, which is basically the presentation. So firstly, this assignment is a group assignment, but secondly, it does not only comprise of submission, a physical, or a document submission. It also comprises of presentations. So as a group, you're now required to prepare an 8 to 10 minute presentation to a panel of judges regarding your entrepreneurial simulation game. You may use a presentation software such as PowerPoint and Canva to present the required information. So in the presentation, then what you need to include are introduction and overview. What you're introducing is the simulation game project, right? Its objectives, which is already included in your assignment, as well as the intended audience. Again, this has been included in your assignment, but you're just going to discuss it as part of your presentation. Then you're going to do the gameplay demonstration. So in other words, you're going to actually show us how this game is played. So you're going to highlight the most important aspects of how the game will be played, and you will combine the entrepreneurial aspects. And I think if this were to be highlighted in green, because everything is important, everything that would be blue would be something that sticks out, which is a little bit more pertinent, right? So the entrepreneurial aspects that they said you needed to cover, much like what we've highlighted in blue over here, is the funding, the marketing, the operations, location, and business growth. So in other words, you don't have to include the business plan, for instance. You don't have to include, idea generation. You don't have to include the business environment. So all of those things that were in other learning units, you don't really have to include them because they're asking you to cover these 5. And then prototype showcase. So you need to display and explain the virtual or physical prototype of the simulation, right? The demonstrating key features and functionality. So basically how it works, because how are you going to address the aspect of funding in your simulation game? How are you going to address the aspect of marketing? How are you going to address the aspect of operations, location, and business growth? And then we will need to have a Q&A session where we get to ask you a question with a panel, get to ask you some questions, and then there'll also be closing remarks with a summary of the simulation strengths and potential impact. So what you then do is, because I'm sure you're asking, what the hell is a business simulation game, right? How am I going to get that done, right? You may research simulation software. And again, this is so important. Just research simulation software, or you may simply use software that you have available to develop a prototype of the game. So in other words, you really have to go ahead and design your own game. It depends on whether you've got simulation software, or if there's that you can Google, or if you have already some that you're already using, go ahead and use that. And then alternatively, you are also able to showcase a physical prototype should this be preferred. And then remember, you are not required to play the game. Therefore, the aim is to determine your ability to develop the simulation as an educational tool, whilst incorporating all the important aspects that a potential entrepreneur may be required to consider. And remember that, like we said, all of those, they've already all been listed for you here. And then this would be that before you start an entrepreneurial venture. So they're saying that these aspects they need to be considered before you start a business. So you need to basically then address each of them in your simulation game. And then the marking rubric, we always look at what you need to do to exceed the required standard, right? So your table of contents, your stuff is prominently displayed, contributing to a clear understanding of the document or the project, right? And you also then, the group discusses the objective. So this is for the group, the group submission on, So the group discusses the objectives, value added, the target audience, the mechanics of gameplay for the simulation, and that would be out of 20 marks. And then the group discusses how the following will feature in the simulation, with funding, marketing, etc., another 20 marks there. And here they say you need to demonstrate a comprehensive understanding and realistic application of these aspects within the simulation, reflecting strategic and well thought out entrepreneurial thinking. And then you need to then have the prototype of the entrepreneurial simulation game. And here, an outstanding and fully functional prototype showcasing, fully functional prototype showcasing a comprehensive representation of the intended simulation game, and then demonstrates advanced features, a high level of interactivity, and a polished user experience. So in other words, not only do you have to have knowledge of, the entrepreneurial elements that are required for you to start a business, but you also then need to know how business simulation runs. So there's two aspects of expertise that are required from you here. And then part of the presentations, you're going to get marks for the introduction, conclusion, and of the presentation, the gameplay demonstration, and then you showing us basically the prototype. Then you're going to get another additional marks for the creativity of your entrepreneurial simulation game, and then as well as your peer reviews. Remember, we talked about the fact that you as a group need to review each other and give yourselves marks. And here's a sheet of the peer reviews that every person that will fill for each person in the group, right? And that's it for this assignment. If there are any questions, please go ahead and email me. I am available on email if you need to discuss anything, and if you need any further clarity, you are welcome. Thank you so much. That's it for our national support session.